You ever look at a really big goal, something you want to achieve, and just feel completely stuck? Like, where do you even
Oh,
start?
no, yeah, that feeling of being overwhelmed, it's super common.
Right. And you think, okay, massive change means I need this huge heroic effort right now. But what if that's wrong?
What if the real power is in the small stuff, the
Huh.
tiny things?
Exactly. Welcome to the deep dive. We uh, take these big ideas and boil them down to what you really need to know and fast.
And today we're really getting into James Clear's Atomic Habits.
Yeah, subtitled The Hidden Architecture Behind Every Breakthrough. And look, this isn't your typical self-help fare. It feels much more like a blueprint.
A practical guide almost.
Totally. So our mission here is to pull out those core ideas, the actionable bits, so you understand how these little habits, these atomic habits, lead to big results, without feeling like your brain just ran a 10K.
That's the goal. And it really hinges on this core idea. Clear presents you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems.
Ooh, say that again. That's powerful.
You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. It basically means stop obsessing over the finish line and start focusing on building the right road to get there, the process.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Tiny changes, giant results. Sounds great almost. Yeah. Too simple.
Well, yes and no. The concept is simple, but the impact is profound. Clear uses this great analogy. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement.
Ah, okay. Like money in the bank.
Precisely. Small deposits, small gains day after day. They don't look like much initially, but over time, that compounding effect is huge.
So like his 1% better idea.
Exactly that. Aiming for just a tiny 1% improvement each day, you won't feel dramatically different tomorrow or even next week probably.
Yeah, you don't suddenly wake up a superhero.
No. But do that consistently for a year. The math is kind of startling. You end up nearly 38 times better off. It's exponential.
38 times. From just 1% a day.
Wow. It shows how focusing on those small, consistent wins can actually get you past that mental block, the one that stops you from starting those massive overhauls we sometimes try.
Yeah, the New Year's resolution trap.
Right. Instead, you build momentum. You build this feeling of, hey, I can actually do this with steps that are genuinely manageable.
This reminds me of that amazing story Clear tells about the British cycling team and Sir David Brailsford.
Oh, yeah, the aggregation of marginal gains. That's a fantastic real-world example.
Before Brailsford, British cycling was. Well, they weren't exactly setting the world on fire, were they?
Not even close, middling at best. But Brailsford came in with this philosophy. Find tiny improvements everywhere. Not one magic bullet, but hundreds of small 1% gains.
And the details are wild. Like,
Right.
they looked at the bike seats for better comfort, obviously. But
Also, the best pillows for sleep quality. The right way to wash hands to avoid getting sick. Even the massage gel the therapists used. Things you'd never think would impact race times.
stuff that seems totally insignificant on its own.
Exactly, but each tiny fraction of improvement added together across all these areas created this massive cumulative advantage.
And the results, they kind of speak for themselves. Suddenly, they're dominating the Olympics, winning the Tour de France multiple times. It was a total transformation.
A really dramatic turnaround built on tiny tweaks.
So for you listening, maybe you're not training for the Tour de France, but you have goals. What's the takeaway? Clear suggests focusing on these micro wins,
Yeah, things that are almost laughably small.
like maybe a 2-minute stretch when you wake up, or reading just one page of a book.
Or adding one small salad to your lunch, sending one positive text. Really, really small things.
Because those things, done consistently, they stack up. It feels less daunting, right?
Way less daunting. It lowers that initial barrier, that psychological hurdle. Starting small feels almost effortless, and that's how you build the momentum. Much easier than trying to, flip your entire life upside down overnight.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now let's shift gears a bit. There's this other really key idea. Identity-based habits. This feels deeper.
It is. It moves beyond just what you do and focuses on who you are becoming. Clear argues that real lasting change isn't just behavior change, it's identity change.
What's the difference, really?
Well, think about outcome-based habits versus identity-based. Outcome is like, I want to lose 15 pounds, or I want to write a novel. It's focused on the result.
Okay.
Identity-based is about who you want to be. I am a healthy person. I am a writer. I am someone who learns new things. See the shift.
Yeah, it's subtle, but yeah, It feels different, more internal.
It's a fundamental mindset shift. You're not just chasing a goal, you're living out an identity. Your actions start to align with that belief about yourself.
The Muhammad Ali example Clear uses is incredible here.
Oh, absolutely. Declaring I am the greatest long before he actually held the title.
It wasn't just trash talk, was it?
No, it seems like he was embodying that identity. He believed it, and then his training, his focus, everything aligned to prove that identity true. The actions followed the belief.
Wow. So the belief shapes the behavior.
That's the idea. If you see yourself as a runner, lacing up your shoes feels like a natural expression of who you are, not just a chore to get through.
So a practical tip for you listening.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of saying, ugh, I need to get more productive, maybe try framing it internally as I'm the kind of person who finishes what they start.
Right, and just notice. Notice that little shift changes how you approach tasks. Does your behavior start to line up with that new self-description?
It's like your identity becomes a habit itself.
That's a great way to put it. It's not fixed. You build your identity with these small actions, these little votes you passed every day for the person you want to be. Over time, those votes add up.
Okay, so we've got tiny changes compounding and the importance of identity. Now, Clear gives us a really practical toolkit, the 4 laws of behavior change. So it gets super actionable, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is the framework for actually building good habits and, just as importantly, breaking bad ones.
Let's lay them out. First, law.
Law 1. Cue. Make it obvious. The trigger for the habit needs to be noticeable. For bad habits, you want to make the cue invisible. Hide the cookies.
Huh. Okay, makes sense. Law 2.
Law 2. Craving. Make it attractive. We do things we want to do. So link good habits to things you enjoy. Make bad habits seem unappealing.
Got it. Law 3.
Law 3. Response. Make it easy. Reduce the friction for good habits. Make them simple to perform. Increase the friction for bad habits. Make them harder to do.
Like putting the remote control in another room.
Exactly. And Law 4. Reward. Make it satisfying. We repeat what feels good. Good habits need an immediate payoff, even a small one. Bad habits should feel unsatisfying.
Obvious. Attractive, easy, satisfying. You just slip them to break bad habits. Invisible, unattractive, difficult, unsatisfying.
You got it. That's the core loop.
Let's use an example. Say someone wants to start meditating for just 5 minutes each morning. How would they apply the laws?
Okay. For cue, obvious. Maybe they put a meditation cushion right beside their bed. First thing they see. For craving, attractive. Maybe they pair it with something they already enjoy, like right before their morning coffee. Or use a guided meditation app with a voice they find calming.
Okay.
For response, easy. Start with just 1 minute. Seriously, make it so easy you can't say no, then gradually increase.
1 minute. Anyone can do 1 minute.
Right. And for reward, satisfying, maybe track it on a calendar, seeing that streak build is satisfying. Or just take a moment after to notice feeling a little calmer, that internal reward.
That really breaks it down. And Clear makes this point I love. Design beats discipline.
Yes, that's such a key insight. If you set up your environment and systems well, you rely less on raw willpower.
Which, let's face it, is finite. It runs out.
Totally. Which brings us nicely to the next big idea. Environment over willpower.
He really emphasizes how much our surroundings shape our actions, doesn't he? Sometimes more than our intentions.
It's huge. Think about trying to eat healthy. If your kitchen counter is covered in junk food, you're fighting an uphill battle every single time you walk in there.
Yeah, willpower drain.
But if you, say, clear the counters, put a big fruit bowl out, pre-chop some veggies in the fridge, you're making the healthy choice, the easy choice. You're designing your environment for success.
He mentions Steve Jobs and his minimalist wardrobe, too.
Right, the black turtleneck and jeans. It wasn't just fashion. It was reducing decision fatigue. One less trivial choice to make each morning frees up mental energy for bigger things.
Designing his personal environment.
Exactly. So the powerful takeaway here is, if you're struggling with a habit, don't just beat yourself up about lacking discipline. Look at your environment first.
Is it helping or hindering? What small tweaks could make the good habit more obvious or easier? Or the bad habit harder?
That's often where the real leverage is. It's a failure of design, not necessarily a failure of character.
Okay, but even with the best design, life happens. You miss a day, right?
Yeah.
You skip the workout, you eat the cookie.
Totally inevitable. And that's okay. This is where Clear's never miss twice rule is so important.
Acknowledging that perfection isn't the goal. Slipping up is normal.
It's absolutely normal. The key is not letting one missed day turn into 2, then 3, then falling off the wagon completely.
Don't let the snowball start rolling downhill.
Precisely. He uses this analogy of an airplane pilot. A tiny 1-degree course correction early on is easy. But if you let that 1-degree error persist over a long flight,
You end up in a completely different city or country.
exactly. Small deviations, if not corrected quickly, lead to vastly different outcomes. So, missing one day, not a big deal. Missing 2 in a row, that's the start of a new, unwanted habit. Get back on track immediately.
So a challenge for you listening. Create your own habit recovery plan. What's your specific action to get right back on track the very next day after you slip?
Having that plan ready makes it much easier to recover quickly.
Now there's another hurdle. You start a habit, you're doing okay, the system is working, and then it just gets boring.
Ah, yes. Mastering boredom. This is where the novelty wears off, and the routine starts to feel like, well, a routine.
And that's often where people quit, right? They think, I've lost my motivation.
Yeah, but Clear flips that. He says the people who truly succeed aren't the ones who stay perpetually excited. They're the ones who learn to handle the boredom.
They push through the monotony.
They push through. Think about elite athletes or musicians. Hours and hours of repetitive drills, scales, practice. It's not always thrilling.
Kobe Bryant practicing fundamentals relentlessly.
Perfect example. Mastery requires showing up even when it's tedious. The pros don't avoid boredom. They embrace the repetition because they know that's where the real progress happens.
So maybe feeling bored isn't a sign you should stop.
Maybe it's a sign you're actually doing the real work. You're past the shiny, exciting beginning and into the part where consistency builds true skill. It's a different perspective, isn't it?
It really is. Okay, so tying this all together, Atomic Habits isn't just about, like, checking boxes or being more efficient.
No, it goes deeper. As Claire says, it's about the person you become through these consistent rituals. It's about identity transformation through small, daily actions,
It's a shift from chasing that feeling of motivation
which is fleeting and unreliable.
to focusing on building effective systems, designing your life intentionally.
Exactly. It's not about finding shortcuts or hacks, really. It's about understanding the fundamental principles of behavior and using them deliberately to shape who you want to be.
Those tiny actions are the building blocks.
They're the atoms of your habits and ultimately the atoms of your identity.
So let's make this super concrete for everyone listening. Your one atomic move, right now. Think about an identity you want to step into. What is the absolute smallest, simplest, almost ridiculously easy action you can take today that aligns with that?
Like Clear suggests, want to be a writer. Write one sentence. Seriously, just one.
Want to be healthier? Fill up a water bottle and put it on your desk.
Want to be more present. Turn your phone over for the next 10 minutes.
Tiny, atomic, doable.
Then stack it. Repeat it tomorrow. Let your behavior start to shape that identity. Remember, success usually isn't flashy or dramatic. It's atomic. It's built day by day.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with, building on Clear's ideas. If you master these tiny habits, you're not just changing your schedule or your routine, you're potentially changing your destiny.
So the question becomes, what future are your tiny actions building right now?